Hey, it's me, Sam B. Look, have you ever been to a party and then when you get there, you realize everyone's awful and you're not actually sure who invited you? Well, we put together some of our favorite segments featuring people you would never want to be at a party with. I present to you The President's Evil Henchmen, Part 1.
New conservative feminist movement.
Women should not have the right to vote.
I would not want to be called a feminist.
Long before Trump grabbed her for his campaign, Kellyanne was fighting for and or against women's rights, always tackling the issues that mattered most, whether that meant defending marriage by attacking a PBS cartoon that featured a child with two moms or speaking up for feminism at conservative gatherings.
Femininity is replacing feminism as a leading attribute for American women. If women really want to be taken seriously in the workforce these days, looking feminine is a good way to start.
It is important to always emphasize your femininity. That's why even the W in the logo behind her was designed to look like a pair of tits. But as racists who don't feel like racists keep telling us, we should never judge anyone by what they say or do, but only by what's in their heart. And I know Kellyanne doesn't believe those homophobic, sexist things in her heart because Kellyanne doesn't believe anything in her heart. She will say literally anything. Exhibit A from back before Trump hired her.
It's completely transparent. Donald Trump's tax returns aren't. I'd like to see those be transparent. He says he's for the little guy, but he's actually built a lot of his businesses on the backs of the little guy through not paying contractors, victims of Trump University, victims of Trump in Atlantic City, insulting them as lying Ted. It was fairly unpresidential.
Oh, remember when that was Trump being unpresidential? We were so young and innocent in April. But the moment Svengali Ann found her trilby, she sang a different tune.
He started retweeting people criticizing Jeff Zeleny, our reporter, including a 16-year-old boy. Is that really presidential behavior?
Well, he's the president-elect, so that's presidential behavior, yes.
Great! By that standard, presidential behavior also includes owning slaves, nailing interns, vomiting on foreign leaders, and whipping your schlong out to White House staffers, all of which President Trump will likely do. But Kellyanne's true superpower is deflecting questions like Supergirl deflects bullets. Watch how many ways she evades one simple question about her boss's Twitter.
Is it responsible for a president-elect to make false statements like that?
Well, first, many people are questioning the victory. You've got people spending millions of dollars wasting money and time in the Clinton and Stein camps in Wisconsin, Michigan, and they tried in Pennsylvania to recount. Why can't you allow this president-elect to form his government the way President Obama and Secretary Clinton have suggested they would like him to do?
Is that statement by President-elect Trump true?
I'm sorry, the Clinton team is pretending that the scapegoat in this election is Jim Comey. Hillary Clinton's message was all negative, and I think what people will see is strong leadership in nominating Mad Dog Mattis, strong leadership in keeping those jobs in Indianapolis.
Kellyanne Conway, thanks for coming on and answering our questions this morning.
What? She didn't answer your questions, you sentient pocket square. She just gave a 4-minute Trump commercial. We haven't seen a blonde do this much spinning and lying since Tanya Harding. Now look, I have met Kellyanne, and she is lovely in person. I get why most reporters like her, and some like her.
Trump said and wrote in tweets. Not at all. I love you, Kellyanne, and you know.
You just want to argue with me. Hey, Chris, by the way, not ducking a thing. Not my style.
You are
when
welcome
you feel like
any time to come on New Day.
All right.
I'll make your coffee myself.
For more about Kellyanne and Chris's torrid affair, you can read my erotic novelization, This Just In. But as good as she is at hijacking interviews, she's even better at hijacking language. Did you notice that jiu-jitsu she did with fake news?
Steve Bannon ran Breitbart News. They peddled a lot of stories on that website that are just false.
I think the biggest piece of fake news in this election was that Donald Trump couldn't win. Talk about fake news. The fake news is that somehow the popular vote is more important than the Electoral College vote now. That you've got this raw information, this complete ridiculous fake news actually is just fake. It's not
actually been backed up by not only multiple sources, but other news agencies, New York Times.
Okay. The phrase fake news is like a loaded gun that Kellyanne deftly plucked out of reporters' hands and pointed at their heads. And she was doing it beautifully until a poorly coiffed water buffalo blundered in and fucked up her game.
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Jesus, Donald. Have you learned nothing from Kellyanne? Smile. Take the question. Don't answer it. Complain about Hillary Clinton. It's not a difficult formula. Which raises an important question. Why the hell is he president instead of her? Kellyanne is the soulless Machiavellian despot America deserves. Not this undisciplined, hobbit-handed omnishambles. Lean in, bitch. You're the one with superpowers. You changed history and also possibly ended it. So Kellyanne, welcome to the Hall of Fame. If you want to pick up your award, it'll be behind our studio in the alley where women will be getting their abortions a year from now. Thanks for everything. Why has governing ground to a halt over protections for dreamers that 86% of Americans support? Believe it or not, the answer isn't entirely Trump. I mean, don't get me wrong, POTUS, seen here asking Drew Barrymore if she likes scary movies, hates him, some immigrants, but his specific policy proposals are as empty as his Oval Office desk. Those come from his senior policy advisor and political smallpox blanket, Stephen Miller. You know, the guy who negged the Statue of Liberty.
The Statue of Liberty says, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. Doesn't say anything about speaking English or being able to be a computer programmer.
The poem that you're referring to that was added later is not actually part of the original Statue of Liberty.
Oh, you should be nice to Lady Liberty. She's the only woman who will ever let you inside her. Problem with Stephen Miller, besides the fact that his skull looks like it's trying to escape his head? I'm glad you asked. DACA isn't just some bleeding heart liberal idea. A lot of conservatives want to help dreamers too. In fact, Lindsey Graham and Dick Durbin spearheaded a bipartisan immigration compromise. Trump had his Sharpie poised to sign up, but when they got to the White House to talk about it, there was a surprise waiting for them.
The aide to Dick Durbin said Senator Graham and Durbin expected to have a meeting. They showed up, and there's this, quote, anti-immigrant cast of characters there, and that was obviously designed by Stephen Miller to try to kill the deal.
As long as Stephen Miller is in charge of negotiating immigration, we're going nowhere. He's been an outlier for years.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm falling behind my speed walking group. Wait up for me, Connie! That's right. This isn't the Trump shutdown or the Schumer shutdown. It's the Stephen Miller shutdown. Miller is Trump's immigration guy, and in the Trump White House, that is a powerful position. It's like the same level of power as the guy who was Bill Clinton's trim coordinator. So who is this enterprising slime mold on the wonder bread of democracy? Where did he come from? Is he just 10,000 spiders who really made a commitment? Stephen Miller was born in sunny California, where I assume his first words were, "Sick burns." As early as middle school, Miller reportedly broke off a childhood friendship because the friend was Latino. Wow. Even I wouldn't have hung out with Stephen Miller in school, and I was desperate for new members of my Anne Murray fan club. By high school, Miller was a practiced right-wing provocateur appearing on conservative talk radio and running for class president on a platform of screw janitors.
Am I the only one who is sick and tired of being told to pick up my trash? And we have plenty of janitors who are paid to do it for us.
What happened to him? Did a janitor once accidentally buff his forehead? Miller also wrote a very chill op-ed for his high school paper called A Time to Kill, which scolded his fellow students for believing that Islam could be peaceful, telling them millions of radical Muslims would celebrate your death. Oh, reminds me of my 10th grade essay, millions of radical Muslims would celebrate me joining Bananarama. I was so confident of what Muslims thought of me. After After high school, Miller fled liberal California for Duke University, presumably because he thought it was founded by David. There he was captain of Duke's competitive balding team and found his niche at the college newspaper, where he had a regular column in which he railed against feminism, multiculturalism, immigration, liberal professors, the war on Christmas, and once again, janitors. He published a screed against giving the dorm janitor a birthday card. Okay, you know what, buddy? I'm getting the feeling that you think janitors are an ethnic group. They didn't all float here in a dinghy from Janitoragway. Miller's right-wing media fame helped propel him to the office door of Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions. As a Sessions staffer, Miller was instrumental in helping to kill the 2014 immigration bill. Then in January 2016, Trump hired Miller and made him his opener at rallies, where he'd do a tight 17 minutes on how every Hispanic immigrant is going to steal your job and kill your daughter, and every Muslim is a terrorist.
We're going to build that wall so our kids don't have to worry anymore about unsafe communities.
How many children are dead because of our sanctuary cities? How many moms are grieving because of our sanctuary cities?
We've seen example after example in the Somali refugee program of individuals becoming radicalized and joining terrorist groups.
They say he's too tough on crime, and he's too tough on illegal immigration, and he's too tough on radical Islamist refugees.
Congrats to Stephen Miller for being the first person in history ever to utter the phrase radical Islamist refugees. And congrats to me for being the first person in history to die of douche chills. After their act did so well on the road, Trump brought Miller to the White House as his senior policy advisor and secretary of foreheads, where he's been intimately involved in crafting Trump's scariest messages and creepiest positions, from the attempted Muslim ban to the refusal to reauthorize DACA. Stephen Miller is a real American success story. He worked hard and stayed true to himself and achieved his dreams. He is the exact same racist asshole he's been since childhood, but now he has the president's ear and the power to ruin thousands of people's lives. I really have a bone to pick with the guy who wrote "Never Change" in his yearbook. Schumer and McConnell better figure out a way to separate him from Trump before they're asked to pass the janitor immigration bill of 2018. With Thanksgiving and impeachment just around the corner, maybe we should spend some quality time with our impending first family. It's time to meet the Pences.
An American household bursting with life,
Which starts at conception, according to Mike.
an American marriage, but not one that's gay.
A man and a woman, that's the only way.
They're just your average lovers,
Just a husband and his mother. They belong to each other and to Trump.
Mike Pence was born in 1959 in a small town in Indiana. State motto, "We're not the South, so why are we like this?" Pence was born as he would live, round-faced and unsettlingly ambitious.
60-some people, including the editor of the newspaper in his hometown, who said to me, Mike Pence popped out of his mother's womb wanting to be president.
He also undoubtedly popped out of the womb furious that his mother had had sex. Pence was raised a Democrat, but as a young man, he couldn't help thinking he was in some way different.
When I was a teenager, I was active in Democrat politics, and then I started hearing the voice of that former California governor who articulated an agenda of principles of less government, less taxes, traditional values, and a strong military, and I was drawn to the Republican Party.
Yes, he initially assumed he was a Democrat, but then he met a guy who stirred something that had always been inside him, and when he realized he was drawn to Republicans rather than Democrats, he came out proudly. He was born this way, goddammit! The other person who changed his life is his wife, Karen. Just 9 months after meeting her, Mike proposed by hiding a ring box in a hollowed-out loaf of bread. Karen accepted his proposal by handing him a gold cross with the word yes that she had specifically made for the occasion, which also comes in handy whenever she meets a vampire who wants to do improv. The newly engaged couple then shellacked the loaf, which I assume is a euphemism for a Republican handjob. I don't really know the lingo. Now, normally we wouldn't cover a political spouse in this much detail because they're often just innocent bystanders in their partner's careers or even innocent body doubles. But Mike Pence is said to consult Karen on just about every decision he makes, and even his supporters say she's a force behind his political stances. I'm sorry, what were those again?
He has tried to establish a policy in Indiana where Indiana would deny Syrian refugees from entering the state.
He said AIDS funding should be taken away from serving people with HIV and AIDS because instead it should be diverted into government-funded programs designed to cure people from being gay.
Federal courts have struck down 2 of Pence's key initiatives, including a provision that mandated funerary services for aborted fetuses.
So, fuck them both, but like in a wholesome, heterosexual, for the purposes of reproduction only way.
Apparently, he won't go out to dinner with a woman, we've heard, unless his wife Karen is with him too. And he won't attend any event where booze is served without her either.
She preferred not to talk about reaction to her husband's personal and strict policies to protect their marriage.
I don't presume to tell anybody how to run their marriage, you know, because every marriage is different.
Yes, what 2 consenting adults do in their marriage or decide other people can't do in their marriage is nobody's business but Mike and Karen Pence's. The Pences appear to be the perfect conservative couple. Even Pat Robertson can barely keep from popping a boner for how boring they are.
Losing 2 congressional races provided him exposure on radio.
It was kind of Rush Limbaugh on decaf.
Mike Pence, what an attractive individual. Handsome, articulate, intelligent. I mean, it's just a nice package.
Whoa! Save it for the 700 Club after dark. Karen Pence is the perfect political spouse. She knows just how to handle tough questions from the biased news media.
Is the governor a dog man or a cat man?
I can't say. You know, I've been told never to choose anything now that we're in this office.
You have? Wow, I guess she's anti-choice in every single aspect of her life. But Karen Pence did choose to become an entrepreneur.
Indiana's First Lady just started her own business called That's My Towel Charm.
Someone took my towel, and I thought, you know, they all match, so you always think, you know, you don't know which one is yours, and you don't want to use someone else's, and I thought there's got to be a way to identify your towel. I put these on my kids' towels so that I know my son is not using my towel.
Mom, did you have to start a whole towel charm business because I jade off into your towel that one time? You know what? To be honest, every time I use a towel, I do say, this is great, but I wish it were sharper. There's just no risk of anything tearing my nipples off. No risk, no reward. Meanwhile, when Mike Pence wasn't busy suppressing the rights of women and gay people, he was diligently fighting for the issues that mattered most.
I rise today for the awesome and important duty to pay a happy birthday wish to Garfield. Not President Garfield, but someone probably more famous in this day and age than that.
And if you listen closely to the way Pence talks about Garfield, you can hear parallels that may explain why he's so fond of his heathen master, our president.
A large, orange, slovenly, lazy cat. Garfield loves TV and he hates Mondays. He'd rather pig out than work out. In fact, his passion for food and sleep is matched only by his aversion to diet and exercise.
Donald Trump is basically Garfield. Just change the word Mondays to Mexicans and they're exactly the same. Now, I know it might seem like I'm shaming the Pences for their godly marriage, but I'm not. I think it's weird as all hell, but I also think married people should be able to do whatever weird as hell things make them happy, and they seem really happy. I just wish they'd extend the same courtesy to gay people, trans people, women, and all of us out there who seem as weird to them as they do to us.
He calls her mother.
Oh my God, they really are freaks.